This is Unit 4, all about writing linear equations, and specifically this comes from section 5.1 in our textbook, and it's about writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form, remember, is any equation of the form y equals mx plus b. So as long as the y is by itself, m represents the slope, and b represents the y-intercept. And don't forget that the x and the y in the equation, we don't fill those in, but what they represent is every single point that falls on that line. So any x you plug in, you will get y out. And that's how you know that a point falls on that line. So for example, if you are given the slope and y-intercept, we can use that to write the equation of a line. So if I say write the equation of a line with m equals -2 and b equals 5, all you're going to do is plug those in for m and b. So y equals -2x plus 5 would be the equation of that line. For another example, we can also use this technique to help us write an equation given a graph. So if we're given the graph on the right, remember the two things that we're always looking for are the slope and the y-intercept, or the m and the b. So looking at this graph, well, they're showing us exactly where it's crossing the y-axis, and that's at -5. And then to find the slope, we're going to look at the 2 points and count rise over run. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, 2, 3. So that has a slope of +4/3. So now the equation of that line would be y equals 4/3 x minus 5. So just to recap, you're going to find the slope between the 2 points, or in other words, find the m. Then you're going to find or identify the y-intercept, so where is it crossing the y-axis, and then you're just going to plug m and b into your slope-intercept form. Alright, use the point and y-intercept. Write an equation of the line shown. So again, very similar, except this time it's not marked for us. So if I look at this line, I notice that it is crossing the y-axis right here at +4. So it's going to have a y-intercept of +4. And then to find the slope, remember I'm looking for a point that falls at a nice intersection. So I could use this point, okay, or here's another point, or here's another point. So all of those fall at nice intersections, so any of them will work. So now again I'm going to count rise over run, so down 1, 2, 3. Remember I write that as -3, and to the right 1, so that's a +1. So my slope is -3/1, which is just -3. So I get y equals -3x plus 4. So one way to think about this unit is we're kind of going in the reverse order of what we did last time. So before we would be given an equation and then we would try to graph it, and now we're being given a graph and we're trying to write the equation. And for our last example, shift the line. This graph represents the equation y equals 1/2 x. So this graph over here is y equals 1/2 x. And so A says write an equation of the line if it is shifted up 3 units. Okay, well if it's shifted up, it's not going to change the slope, it's just going to change where it crosses the y-axis. So anytime we're talking about shifting up or down, all that's going to change is the y-intercept. So the original equation has a y-intercept of 0. We don't write 0, but because it's not there and it's going through the origin, it has a y-intercept of 0. So if it's going up 3 units, it's going to cross the y-axis at positive 3, and then it's still going to have the same slope as it did before. So that would be the new line, and the equation of that would just be y equals 1/2 x plus 3. And then letter B says, write an equation of the line if it is shifted down 5 units. So again, the slope is going to stay the same. It's just going to have a different y-intercept. So now I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the y-axis. And it still has the same slope, just a different y-intercept, so minus 5. And that's kind of like a transformation, or a translation. We're just sort of sliding the line up and down, but we're not changing anything about it. So anytime you see shifted, you just have to ask yourself, am I adding to the y-intercept or subtracting? And that is it for this section.